Steven,
Hmm.
what music, when you were younger, when you were playing youth sports, would fire you up?
Smash Mouth.
Oh, yeah? Which song in particular?
All Star.
Hmm. Little on the nose, don't you think?
What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, back then, of course, that's going to fire you up.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It probably
I
would be
also
the
blame
same
my
for me.
dad. I blame my dad because he played these mixes. He was the one like that created the CDs for the pregame stuff at our little league.
Oh, nice.
So I listened to the same one over and over, and for some reason he put like a bunch of Smash Mouth on there. So it was like All Star, I'm a Believer, and When the Morning Comes, like every baseball game that required music. So any big game that I played in. So yeah, I blame him.
Nice. Isn't the morning when the morning comes? Isn't that a song about some chick leaving a dude after a one night stand?
I don't know what it's about. I was like 10.
The reason I ask is because I don't know if you saw the story. The Texas Rangers, they get fired up to none other than Creed before every game. And I could sing Creed better than anybody. So I thought that was just a funny thing.
Yeah, I think that what do they want? Creed played at the ballpark at some point. They want
Yeah,
Creed playing in Texas?
they actually might have today. Like they're what are they up 7-0 right now? 7-1.
7-1.
I think after their home run that made it 6-0, they started playing a little. Can you take me higher?
So you're gonna steal one of my songs again, or are you just gonna, with arms wide open?
I didn't steal it. All
Yeah,
right.
you did.
Fine. I stole it.
Let's
move on.
voluntarily said, "Hey, here's this song I made about the Raiders. It's to the tune of With Arms Wide Open. Can you take a listen?" Yeah, sure, I'll take a listen. Then I hear you steal it completely. Create something
Okay,
else.
listen. Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors. I needed something about me making songs. Did one song, and then it became a routine. And that one just clicked in my mind, and I probably stole it from you. So yes, even after all these years, I'll admit it. I stole it from you. You happy now?
Yes, that's all I needed to hear.
All right, but mine was better though.
Okay.
They're all gonna be wide open. Welcome everybody to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. Yes, Ernie's. I'm a little late because I just got back from Tolbert and Copes, and the BART train was a little late, so I apologize. But I'm here, and I'm ready to talk some football, talk some baseball, and again, eat some hot sauce because I lost. Got a little carried away with my picks this week. Oof.
Was it what was the score? I didn't check this week's.
You beat me thoroughly.
Oh.
The final was let's see here. You had 26. I didn't take into account the Raider game last night. We'll get to that too. Let's see here. I took the Raiders. Laid the points and the under hit. So that's 20 for me and 27, 28. 28 to 20. You kicked my ass.
I felt good about this week. I was watching these games, and there was a lot of unders, I realized, going around the league. Very close, actually.
Yeah, very close. And, God, yeah. For me to pick an over in a Pittsburgh-Baltimore game seems stupid in hindsight now.
Yeah, that was bold. Very bold of you.
Very bold, but not beautiful. I did get the game right, but that did not help me. I got a little carried away. I picked the Cowboys for some reason. We will get to that game. Yeah, a lot of bad picks by me. So I will change it up this week. Bring it back to the Da-Bomb, or Da-Bomb, I guess. And I'm going to try a different chip this time. All right? So we'll see how I react to that. But before we get to all that, let's start with last night's Raider game. Monday Night Football. Raiders win 17-13. And it's a win. It's a win for the Raiders. Good performance by the defense. They've actually played pretty well this season so far, with the exception of the Buffalo game, where they gave up 38 points. But besides that, I think they've actually played fairly well for the most part. Better rushing performance from Josh Jacobs, 68 yards, but in hindsight, or in comparison to last season, not the same. but still his best rushing output so far this season.
Uh huh.
But let's be honest. The Raiders have won 2 games this season, 17-13 and 17-16 to 2 anemic offenses. We can say that the defenses have improved, but I think honestly it's just they got lucky that these just Jordan Love's a first year starter and Russell Wilson's learning Sean Payton's offense, even though he's getting a little better as each week goes on. But I wasn't thoroughly impressed with last night's win. It was a win, nonetheless, but I wasn't really impressed. And I'll get into more details. But what do you think, Steven?
No, I'm the same way. I thought it should have been a higher score. I don't think it should have been a one-score game. Not with those types of numbers. Not when you pick off Jordan Love twice and you do it in their end of the field and you still don't get any points out of it. How sad is that? The first 2 interceptions, one of them just resulted in a field goal because you couldn't even gain a yard, and the other one you just punted it away. Like, you got to capitalize on those opportunities, and they don't get any. I think Robert Spillane. Can you guess the last time that a linebacker had for the Raiders had multiple interceptions in the same game?
Kirk Morrison.
Do you know what year?
Was that the right answer?
I don't know. I don't know the player. I just know the year.
2007.
No, it was 2001.
Really?
Yeah, it's been since 2001 since a Raiders linebacker had 2 interceptions in the same game.
Did Kirk Morrison not have 2 ever in a game?
I don't believe so, because
what about Thomas Howard?
These are according
Thomas Howard.
These are according to NFL.com. And no, Quentin Groves, RIP as well. Quentin Groves didn't do it.
Oh, Quentin Groves. He was a defensive end. It was hard for him to get an interception.
Nor did Nick Roach. Nor did
who was it? What was it? Greg Biekert?
I don't even know. I just saw it on NFL.com earlier today.
Willie Thomas?
I don't know. I should look that up. But the score should have been.
I think Greg Rosenthal of NFL.com has got his stats off.
He should. It was Nick Shook, I think was the guy's name.
Shook. Good old
Shooky. No, I thought that
someone's been listening to the Around the NFL podcast.
That's me. Although it's kind of it's good primer for the season, but it gets old after when they do the replays. I'd go to part of my take actually for the week replay or the week recap.
I've noticed myself that a lot of the off-season podcasts that I listen to in the off-season, I don't care to listen to during the season.
Yeah, because you can make your own conclusions based on whatever you watch. You don't need to listen to someone else's recap that lasts for like 5 minutes a game. But back to the Raiders.
Listen to us today.
Well, yeah, I know, right? But back to the Raiders. I thought the score should have been higher. Max Crosby is an absolute superstar. They should have got after that Packers offensive line, and they absolutely did. I think we both had the Raiders winning in this one just because it felt like this was the type of game where they would win. They weren't going to start the season 1-4. Jimmy Garoppolo, just average upon average, 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That interception, I don't know what to make of it, but solid win. I'm just at the point with the Raiders, though, and we'll get to Josh McDaniels. I know we got something on Josh McDaniels as well, but I'm at the point with Raider games now, and this might be the wrong way to look at it, but sure, I'm glad to see them win games, and they've effectively been taken out of the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I think they can actually pick up a couple of more wins here. I don't actually doubt that they could be 4-2 after they play the Patriots, but and the Bears. But I'm just at the point where I'd rather have them lose if that means that Aiden O'Connell's getting the start. Like, I know this was a conversation that the 49ers fans had throughout their time since Trey Lance was traded up in the draft, and he was the 3rd overall pick. But I'm also at that point now where it's like, what's the ceiling with Jimmy? He didn't win them that game yesterday. If anything, he almost lost them that game. He did not look good. I'm at that point with the Raiders now, and I don't really trust their head coach. It's like the most down I've ever been coming off a win.
So, just my takeaways from the game.
Yeah.
Offensive line is atrocious.
Yes.
And it may be that it may be that Josh McDaniels is trying to scheme it up as well as he can for a good running game, but Josh Jacobs, I'm surprised he led the league in rushing a year ago. It's basically the same offensive line, but you see Dylan Parham getting beat easily.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the guy that Mumford? Who's the guy that filled in for
Thayer Mumford, yeah.
Yeah, for Jermaine Illuminor. Yeah, just not a good offensive line. Jimmy just doesn't have a lot of time to throw. I'm surprised. I know you've made this point before, Steven, in recent weeks, but I'm surprised that whatever this season is supposed to be, just them trying to win or a competitive rebuild. Usually, when teams rebuild, they focus on the offensive line. Just that's the hardest thing to get right,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like they've wasted time doing that. So I don't know how they didn't make any upgrades this offseason. Maybe they felt good about the offensive line because Josh Jacobs led the NFL in rushing a year ago, but no improvements. With the exception of Colton Miller, I think you could make a lot of changes along that offensive line. But um, like, who's a center on Andre James?
Yeah.
Get him beat easily by Kenny Pickett and the other guys on the Packers defensive line. You got obviously Dylan Parham, who's a rookie, but I don't know, man. I'm surprised they didn't focus more on that in the draft. Um,
Yeah.
and Jimmy and Devontae are not on the same page. Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman made a note of it during the game. There was a point where Jimmy Garoppolo was ready to throw to Devontae Adams, and Devontae was not ready to get the ball. He was still running his route, and that's on the quarterback to tell Jimmy or tell Devontae, this is the route I want you to run, and this is how we're going to be in sync on these. That's how Aaron Rodgers and Devontae just established a relationship. And Jimmy's just not seeing the field very well. There was the one play where Troy Aikman brought it up. He was standing and looking, and didn't see Michael Mayer until later. Then he ran to the side and could barely give it to him. And that's usually an easy completion, but he just threw it too far for Michael Mayer, and it was ridiculous. But it's good to see Michael Mayer get his I guess second catch as a Raider. Meanwhile, Sam Laporta is getting bombs thrown to him with the Lions offense. I'm not saying that Sam Laporta is a better tight end. He's different, but if we're going to draft this guy in the second round, it'd be nice to see him get incorporated in the offense. Just the first drive, Michael Mayer caught a pass and Austin Hooper caught a pass. They're talking about establishing the tight ends more in the offense, but can't just do it on the opening drive. You got to keep doing it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we doing here? You just started using your two tight. I thought it was something different. I really did at the beginning of the game. I'm like, oh wow, they're using two tight ends. What? They might actually spread out the field a little bit instead of just going to Jacoby Myers. What is this? A different McDaniels? No, it's not. He just did the same old thing, just vanilla play calling. Question on Garoppolo, that interception towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
It looked like
You mean out of the second half?
It's out of the second half, yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like Devontae was running a post by the looks of it. And then Myers was going the opposite way. It kind of looked like a scissors route, I guess, or a scissors concept.
Yeah.
But it looked like he had Jacoby Myers already in double coverage, whereas Adams, he wasn't open. The safety, I think, had a step on him. But in that situation, can't he just throw it out of bounds or something? Why do you have to try and force it to any receiver? Just throw it out of bounds and save yourself some time. Try to make another play.
It's the Jimmy O no throws. There was one in the fourth quarter that almost got picked off by Rasul Douglas.
Yeah. I also think this is a product, though, of a Shanahan and McDaniels type of system. Like we'll get to Purdy, but with what he did against the Cowboys, but yeah. Purdy has at least understood how to elevate what Shanahan wants to do. Like Jimmy understood the very basics of it, and why they kept on throwing interceptions is because that's what the system told him. And I think it's the same thing with McDaniels. And I don't think they teach him, hey, if that play's not there, just throw it out of bounds. We'll get him again. Like they teach them, yeah, this play is going to be there. You just got to throw it there. And I think they've just ingrained that into his head, and he just doesn't even think to throw it anywhere else.
Well, you saw the interaction on the sideline. Josh McDaniels was kind of grilling him, being like, what do you see in there?
Yeah.
And also with Devontae Adams, I know that they benefited from a couple catches towards the end of the game because for whatever reason, Preston Smith was on Devontae Adams. But at a halftime, the Raiders are up 10-3. And to that point, Devontae Adams has one catch on one target. And Lisa Salters asks Josh McDaniels, how do you get Devontae Adams more involved in the game? And Josh McDaniels' response is, well, they're doing things to take him out of the game, and we just got to find the open guy. That's good coach speak, but Devontae Adams in the post game says, I see double teams all the time, and yet I still get the ball. You don't think Jamar Chase was double teamed against the Arizona Cardinals? He got 15 catches for whatever it was, for 3 touchdowns. I know it's difficult sometimes. You could take receivers away, but there's got to be more creativity to get Devontae Adams open. There's been so many times where the Raiders got a high profile wide receiver like Randy Moss, and the excuse all the time was, well, they're taking him away, they're double covered. How come other teams figured it out? You don't think Randy Moss was double teamed in 2007 when he got 23 touchdowns? You don't
Right.
think Devontae Adams was double teamed when he was with Aaron Rodgers and he was catching 18 touchdowns a year? There has to be more creativity with this offense. And this is my biggest takeaway from the game. Again, it's a win, and I feel like we're grilling the Raiders. It's always good to see them get a win. But this offense is not better. If anything, it's worse. So I looked it up. In the first 5 games last season, Derek Carr had 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and the Raiders scored 125 points. This season, Jimmy Garoppolo has 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and the Raiders have one of the lowest offensive totals with 79 points scored this season. You can't tell me that Jimmy Garoppolo is an upgrade if he can't perform better than Derek Carr. And I know it's early, but you say this guy knows the offense better than Derek, and it's not showing. At this point last year, I know they had a worse record. They were 1-4 at this point last year, and they're 2-3 now. So wins matter, but the offense is not improved. And I wonder, and I'm going to keep wondering until they get a solid quarterback in there, if they should have made this move.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point, and I'm going back to Adams with the whole, the comments that he made to the Ringer, and he said he was taken out of context, which is just not true. We read every single quote that you had, and it was clear you weren't happy that Garoppolo was on the team. Like, it's for his best interest to get out of there now with Garoppolo, because if you look back at last season with Adams, anytime he had at least 6 or 7 catches, that means easily, 120, 130 yards, just because you know what Adams can do. You know how he can, the route running, the concepts, all of that. Like last year, I'm looking at it last year, and I'm seeing, let's see here, 7 receptions for 153, 8 receptions, 177, 7 receptions for 141, 9 for 126, 10 for 146, 9 for 101, like 8 for 95. I'll even use 95. This year, 8 for 75, 6 for 84, 6 for 66. Like, that's just not good enough. He's not using them the right way. And if Adams, I want him to succeed. I want him to win a championship, and I don't want him to waste his years with the Raiders and this time with McDaniels, because I'm just out on it. There's no inspiration from this team. That's why we're looking at the win and kind of critiquing it, because it's uninspiring the way that they play.
Yeah, just to get a positive note in, Max Crosby had an unbelievable game.
Yeah, let's get something in. Jeez.
And Amik Robertson on that interception was incredible. Marcus Peters had a better game, and Robert Spillane had 2 great interceptions. The defense played very well.
Yeah.
And it must be something where Patrick Graham, his illusion of complexity is much better when he's in a booth as opposed to on the field. I don't know if there's something with that, but defense played a lot better. But also, I'm going to be honest here. The Packers, they're struggling right now with Jordan Love. So you could say that the defense is playing well and they played well against the Broncos, but I want to see it against, we're not going to really know. The Patriots have the worst offensive football next week, so if they win again, cool.
Yeah.
But we don't really know. And I'm with you, Steven. Like, if this is a rebuild, it's really unfair to Devontae Adams. You feel like you're holding him hostage. He signed this fantastic contract, making him the second highest paid wide receiver in football, but he gets older every year. So when this team is finally ready to perform, what is it going to be? 33, 34, 35?
Yeah. Right.
What is it right now? 31?
Yep.
Yeah, it's time's ticking. That's why he's getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And if Jimmy knows this offense so well from his days with McDaniels in New England, then why is he struggling so much?
It's the same thing year after year, man. It's the mediocre offensive line. That's what's making him struggle so much, because the pass protection with the 49ers was fantastic. He has a clean pocket. He has speedy wide receivers. Then he can make plays. He actually has a pretty nice connection to Jacoby Myers. I'll give him that. But I don't know what to fix with him. It seems like his better days are behind him, and now he's just going to turn into, I don't know, maybe like the type that's a backup for him right now. Maybe turn into like a Brian Hoyer, where he's just holding the clipboard and he's just there to be one of the best backups in the league and just collect a paycheck. That's kind of where it's headed right now, because he's not a number one quarterback. Like that's not a guy you want running your system. I don't know, unless you got the Dolphins core and you just got guys who run 22 miles an hour on average. Like if you got that, I don't know, maybe that will work. But Garoppolo just, I don't know what his problem is, but Devontae Adams is not the right receiver to have with him. And I also want to go back to Max Crosby as well, because I go back to that Chargers game too. Every single snap, he's doing something to impact the game. I mean, the motor that this guy has. I mean, I'm not saying he's as strong as say like a Nick Bosa or an Aiden Hutchinson, but to me, he's the fastest edge rusher in the league. I don't know, maybe Micah Parsons might have something to say to that, but I'd like to see any edge rusher do what he did in the fourth quarter when he's lined up on the outside and somehow bounces around and just sprints and does like a J turn straight to the quarterback. Do you remember that play? They opened up the hole right for him in the center of the line of scrimmage. But here's also where I'm going to be down on the Raiders again. Still very early. Okay, 5 games in, but Tyree Wilson was nowhere to be found yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, nowhere to be found. And if you look at the pressures this season, as I opened up a little Pro Football Focus, all right, you'll see at the top of the list, you got Aiden Hutchinson with 35 total pressures. You see that right there? It's in the middle, TOT, under the pressures. Aiden Hutchinson leads the league with 35, Max Crosby 34, Micah Parsons, Chase Young, Nick Bosa, right up there, right? Tyree Wilson was the 7th overall pick. And this dude is, you got to go all the way down, 106th in the league. He has 4 pressures in total on the year. 4. And he only had 1 tackle yesterday. A game where this one was the defense's best game of the year. And Tyree Wilson laid an egg. Didn't do anything. His get off the line is super slow. He looks like a statue out there. Just go back and go watch the film from the all 22, and you'll see that he's later than everybody else off the snap.
Yeah.
It's sad. I know I'm not saying he's done. I'm not saying he's a bust, but good Lord, he hasn't shown much signs of improvement, even though week after week we're getting these things in the press conferences saying, oh no, he's better now. He's really getting a grasp on the defense and the way the NFL lines up. I don't really know what to make of him right now.
I know he was drafted 7th overall. Was it 7?
Yeah.
Okay. But he is in kind of a weird situation where he had to fill in for Chandler Jones right away. And he's a rookie. He's learning. But you do want to see some more natural talent than what's been shown. Because last night he was going up against a backup tackle. David Bakhtiari did not play. And he got caught every single time. I was watching on most of the snaps. I wanted to see how he was going to go, and he got just stonewalled every time in his tracks. And in comparison to a Jalen Carter, who, with all the legal issues, looks amazing. So I don't know. We'll see. I still have high hopes for him, but yeah, the offense is frustrating because McDaniels is an offensive guy, and if this is the plan offensively, then this is uninspiring.
Yeah.
Now they did win the game thanks to the defense, but the decision once again by McDaniels when they were facing a 4th and 2 at the Green Bay 34 at the 2-minute warning, 1 timeout left for the Green Bay Packers. Essentially, if you pick up the first down, game over. Now, Daniel Carlson is usually pretty on point from 50 plus. He missed the kick, but it was blocked before halftime, so I don't really blame him for that one. Kind of uncharacteristic of him to miss a 52-yard field goal that's supposed to be clutch there, but it happens. It may be in his head that he was going up against his brother and his parents were there. But I would have liked McDaniels to go for it there. Um, I could run with Josh Jacobs. Maybe 4th and 2 is a little much, or try something else out. Maybe a little like the first play of the game, a little play action bootleg that with Michael Mayer wide open. But the Packers need to score a touchdown either way.
Yeah.
I can make if they kick the field goal, it's not the end of the world to me. But I don't know. And it seemed like a long field goal to rely on there, even for Daniel Carlson, and you could just end the game right then and there. And that's where you get frustrated with guys like Brandon Staley or Dan Campbell that go for it too much. But that's what I like to see. And I listened to Josh McDaniels' press conference today where he goes, when I was an offensive coordinator, I wanted to go for it all the time. Now that I'm a head coach, I evaluate things and, the percentages, analytics, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to hear that shit.
But the percentages told them to go for it. That's the part too.
Well, I think actually someone followed up and said, but the percentages there, it said you should go for it. He goes, yeah, percentages, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I go off a feel. You didn't feel in that moment that, and you know what? Actually, he did say this, and this goes back to when he stopped Vic Tafur when Tafur was kind of insinuating that he doesn't trust his offense. And he goes, I judge things when I go for it based on how my team is playing, the flow of the game, what we should do, what feels good here. Is my offensive line holding up on that drive? Are we getting good yardage on that drive? So the reality is, it is based on how your offense is playing. And for whatever reason, on that last drive where they kicked the field goal, he didn't feel comfortable at his team kick it up 2 yards. Now, Daniel Carlson makes the field goal, no harm, no foul. But they still would have had to score a touchdown to tie the game.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I thought he would have been more aggressive, especially after what happened against the Steelers. They win the game, but a part of me was like, damn, you could have dropped your balls a little bit more and gone for it there.
Now, this is hindsight 2020. But besides the field goal, because you already know where I'm at on that, I thought they should have went for it. I was saying it to the TV, like they should have absolutely gone for it. But here's where I was confused. That final drive. Let me pull up the drive chart here. So they run it with Jacobs for 2 yards, pass it to Jacobs for 11 yards, run it with Jacobs for another 8 yards, run it again for another 4 yards. Then you have the timeout. Then you run it with Jacobs again. Then you pass it to Jacobs again. And then you have the timeout again. And then you're in the shotgun with Amir Abdullah. Like, you had the timeout. You had a little bit of time off. Like, maybe I'm wrong on this, but to me, if you're going to have an all-pro like Josh Jacobs or Devontae Adams, you should probably get the ball in their hands as much as possible, which they did in that drive. But in the crucial moment, when it's 3rd and 6 and they're in the shotgun, they decide to hand it off to Amir Abdullah. Like, everyone thought you were going to run the ball. If you were really like an aggressive team, you would have called play action. You would try to get the first down there, like, in my opinion, on that 3rd and 6. I thought that was just a odd move to call it with Amir Abdullah, your 3rd string running back, so that you can maybe pick up a few yards and get a favorable 4th down, and you kick the field goal out of it. Like, maybe they accomplished their goal. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. Maybe they felt like they were in 2-down territory at that point where they could pick up 6 yards on 2 downs, but they didn't. And I thought that was just, I just didn't understand that move. Maybe that's just me being too simplistic, but I just thought you need to get the ball in your best player's hands as much as possible. And they did with Jacobs, but no Adams in sight on the final drive of the game that could have won them it right away.
Also, a little more creativity in the offense. Like, I'm thinking right now, 4th and 2. Okay, what could I do? Straight ahead, just I formation dive with Josh Jacobs could get you it.
Which it worked, and that worked for some of the game too.
Could be a pass to Devontae Adams, but it's got to be a good pass. Can't just be forced. What about using guys like Hunter Renfrow or Trey Tucker on jet sweeps? Like 4th and 2. Cooper Kupp picked up a first down in the Super Bowl on a 4th and 2 with a jet sweep. Just more creativity. I don't know, man. And also, it seems to me that Josh McDaniels wants to revert this offense to a little bit of the Patriot days where the running backs caught a shit ton of passes, and that's fine. But is the priority supposed to be with Josh Jacobs catching more passes than running the football effectively?
This isn't a team where James White is your lead back.
Exactly.
We're talking Josh Jacobs here, damn it. We're talking a guy who was leading the league in rushing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's so frustrating. Do you think, hypotheticals,
No, hypotheticals.
based on Mark Davis's reaction after the interception, which only turned into a field goal because the Raiders couldn't gain a yard,
Where he called someone an asshole?
not called, he was just pissed. The camera picked him up and he was just pissed off. He was sitting next to his 23-year-old girlfriend or however old she is.
26, Steven. Come on.
Sorry. Does Mark
that-
Davis think he's Leo DiCaprio or something? Come on, man.
And then he went to the penny slots after that.
Went to the pick.
Need a little bit of that P.F. Chang's money.
Oh, man. He's like in that gross glass area in the Vegas airport with like a bunch of slots, but it's like smoking. It's the smoking section. So it's just all windows and it just
Come
smells
on,
like
honey, get
cigarette
off your
smoke.
TikTok. We need to go over to get some lettuce wraps.
But do you think, hypothetically, had they lost, do you think McDaniels would have been out of a job today?
No.
No?
I don't.
Hmm.
Smarten up, Steven. Smarten up. No, because I think that he has to see this through with McDaniels. I think that this year something has to go really bad for him to get fired. If there's improvement from last year, and then there already is an improvement, they're 2-3 as opposed to 1-4. But he's all in on the GM and the coach being a combination here. This isn't, Josh McDaniels chose Dave Ziegler. This isn't a Farhan situation where Farhan loves Gabe Kapler, and at the end of the day, it was just, Farhan had to make this move to save his own ass. It's, Josh McDaniels gets fired, Dave Ziegler gets fired too. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I guess so. I just think that something's got to give, and I don't think it's just going to get any better from here.
Good movie.
Great movie. Haven't seen it. Had the DVD, but never saw it.
You ever seen it?
No, never seen it.
It's good work by Jack.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. All right, should we transition to the Niner game?
Yeah, why not?
All right. While you say what you think of the game, I'm going to get myself a pop corner. Have you seen these, Steven?
A pop corner?
Oh, if you haven't seen the Breaking Bad commercial.
Oh, I've seen those.
Pop corners, bro.
Oh, I've seen them.
These don't have as much, I guess, layers as a pita chip. They're more flimsy and thin. So we'll see if I get more of an effect with this bomb evolution. But your take: Niners win 42-10 over the Cowboys.
I think it proved that the Cowboys are just not on the tier of the best teams in the league, and their opponents that they faced were not very good. Putrid, actually. Patriots proven to be one of the best teams in the league. The Jets are the Jets. The New York Giants also proving to be one of the worst teams in the league. And then what was the other one? I already said the Patriots. Who was the other? The Cardinals. And they ended up losing to the Cardinals. Like, you see what the 49ers have been doing through this season, just absolutely dominating teams. And the way that they did with the Cardinals. Cardinals play very hard, but the 49ers knew their talent exceeded whatever effort they were going to put in. And I think proved by Dak and Mike McCarthy. They said the exact same thing after the game, which is, I didn't envision it going this way. I thought, with our preparation, our best week of preparation, that's great. And what's the quote? Like, hard work always beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Well, the 49ers are not a talented team. The 49ers are not a talented team that just takes time off, that just slacks. No, they work really hard, and they're built for this. Like, their mindset is Super Bowl. They don't even care about this whole thing. The only one who really cares about this loss is Micah Parsons. And I got that sound queued up so we could play that at some point. But like, the 49ers talent and their hard work combined it's hard to see any NFC team beating them, at least until maybe they play the Eagles on December 3rd. And the Eagles are actually looking like a pretty good team right now. I don't know how they're winning it, but they're winning, and they're still 5-0. 5-0 counts for something. But I don't think the Niners are celebrating the small victories. Like 42-10, the most lopsided in the history of the rivalry between them and the Cowboys. 32 points. It's never been that way on both sides. But I just think the 49ers continue to prove yet again that they are the class of the NFL right now.
All right.
All right.
See there? Got the bomb on the pop corner.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Now it's your turn. What'd you think of the Niners game? Niners 42, Cowboys 10. Here you go. Little hot sauce breakdown. Maybe we'll call it that. The hot sauce breakdown.
I got all of it this time. This didn't like soak to the chip.
Excellent. Good.
All right.
What'd you think of the game? This is good. I'm glad Jesse thought of this, the whole breakdown thing. I'm not going to let you stay silent. You will not go quietly into the night, my friend.
Now I got the hiccups.
Oh, get through it.
This was an extremely impressive win by the 49ers. And I think it's the best they've had under Kyle Shanahan.
Best what? Team, best offense, best defense?
Best win they've had under Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, got
Best win they've ever had under Kyle Shanahan. They've had impressive wins, impressive games, fun games, like the one against the Saints. The one where they won the NFC Championship, obviously.
Yeah.
But best regular season win for the 49ers. I'm making him an offer he can't refuse. Yeah, you check all the boxes. I know what I sound like, guys. You got to Google it. All right. This is the most impressive regular season win they've had under Kyle Shanahan, bar none. I think you were right about the Cowboys, Steven. They played a lot of bad teams, and they finally played someone that was supposed to be on their level, and the Niners just kicked their ass. McCaffrey scores, but it wasn't even his best rushing effort. I think he finished with like 68 yards, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like 52.
52, okay. He didn't have a great rushing game against the Cowboys a year ago either in the playoff game. But it didn't matter. Nick Bosa said it best in the postgame. In 2019, their offense was explosive with the running game. Now it's equal parts explosive passing and running. I tweeted this out. Niners are the best team in football, and it's not even close. They are the most balanced team in all phases of the game. They run well. They pass well. They play great defense. This is the first, we've always wondered what this offense would look like if they had a superb thrower of the football, and that's what they have with Brock Purdy. I don't want to hear any more, well, if they had Mac Jones, and listen, I know that Dan Orlovsky said that. I know that Kyle Shanahan, the rumor is Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones over Trey Lance. Would Mac Jones be playing better with the 49ers right now than the Patriots? I think so. But also, as George Kittle said today on KMBR, that's an insult to what Brock Purdy's doing.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is playing fantastic. And he makes this passing game lethal. And it's the best they've ever been. Way better than what they had with Jimmy. They have excellent receivers with Debo and Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle came into the fold with 3 touchdown catches, a career high. They are lethal everywhere offensively. And they're lethal on defense. Maybe a little weak in the secondary, but haven't seen that be a problem yet. And they're getting better with Randy Gregory on the defensive line. I think that this is the best Niner team we've seen under Kyle Shanahan, and it's the best team in football. The Eagles are undefeated as well, but I don't think they're even on their level right now. And that may change as time goes on, but the Cowboys just got punched in the face. I don't think they were expecting it to be like this. I think that they, Brock Purdy was still figuring things out when they played him last time, and now he just ripped it against them.
Yeah.
And I was thoroughly impressed with this. I picked the Dallas Cowboys to win. I'm not even going to, until I see otherwise, I shouldn't doubt them anymore. I know that you've accused me of being a Niner hater and everything, and I no bias anymore. I can't even deny it. The Niners are the best team in football. It's not even close.
There's no doubt. They're just lethal everywhere. Like I just watch their games and I just you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who could beat them, especially with the way that Brock Purdy's playing. Like his numbers, the 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like he's not going to blow you away in terms of his passing yardage every single game. 4 touchdowns was a career high for him. And I think I'm not going to go so far as to say like he's, ranked in the top 5 in terms of quarterbacks, because I do think there are a lot of quarterbacks who do a little bit more with a lot less on their team. But Purdy's just the perfect fit. Purdfict. He's the perfect fit. I mean, consider me a perdvert. Shout out to Parks and Rec. But I think that with the clean pocket, where was it? Where was I going to go? The clean pocket. When he's got a clean pocket, he's had 132 attempts, which is not the most in the league, but it's right up there. 132 attempts with a clean pocket, and he is completing 81% of those passes. Or excuse me, 93 attempts. I apologize. 93 attempts. He's completing 81% of those passes. That leads the league easily. And he's got the best passer rating right now, 121. What that shows to me, it's just efficiency. And that's what you need. You need a guy who's efficient, but you also need a guy who can make plays when he's pressured. And the reason why Micah Parsons had a stat line that was 0 is because Purdy doesn't hold on to the ball too long.
Nope.
And if he does, then he's just going to break outside the pocket, run away, and then just maybe throw the ball out of bounds and give himself another down because he knows he's got basically 4 downs to work with. Like, this dude is just lethal. And I just think that along with the offensive line is really clicking right now. The right side is not nearly as big of a problem as I thought it was going to be heading into the season. I had some questions, around Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz on the right side, but time and time again, they keep on alleviating any of that doubt that you had on the right side just with quick passes. Oh, and the Rangers move on. Bruce Bochy on to the championship series, ALCS. Wow.
And you picked them to win the World Series.
I did. I think they're rolling right now, man. They were dominating a lot of the year and fell flat in the last end of it, but I don't know. That offense was clicking over. God, imagine that with the Orioles fans. Jesus, Baltimore just had the best season it's had in years, since like the 80s. And then you just lost in the first round of the playoffs after a week.
Yeah,
off.
I'll get to it a little later, but I don't know if I like this playoff system, but I'll get to that a little later.
I get you. But yeah, man, it's just it's a perfect mix right now. And then Fred Warner, didn't even mention Fred Warner.
Oh, dude,
it's crazy.
If it wasn't for TJ Watt, I think he's a leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. We all said in the offseason, well, running backs may be a dying position now. And McCaffrey may be leading the charge for MVP along with Purdy. Fred Warner, do you know the last linebacker to win Defensive Player of the Year? True non-rush linebacker.
Oh, I mean, was it Ray Lewis?
No, Luke Kuechly.
Oh yeah,
10 years ago. But that's a position that's kind of dying too. You got guys that can cover more and. It's not like the same thing where, guys are getting 130 tackles. They don't see that as like a expensive position anymore in football. It's the running backs and it's the linebackers that are kind of dying breeds when it comes to paying guys top dollar. And I think that the Niners have the 2 best players in that position that are dying breeds, and Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner.
Yeah.
Also, how often have we seen a team, and I know it's very early, so this is maybe an inappropriate conversation to have at this point, but how often do we see guys that two players on one team that are true MVP candidates? Because everyone's throwing two out there, and I'll bring up the Dolphins. I don't see it, and I don't see him having staying around for the MVP conversation for Tua. How could you not say Brock Purdy if this team is rolling? They're the number one seed, may have the best team in football. Everyone is trying to Mike Florio 2 weeks ago. Well, Brock Purdy sounds too close to Brock Turdy, and all these people they're not buying Brock Purdy just because of his draft status, where he was drafted. Stupid. Get over it at this point. This guy is on the same level as a Kurt Warner story. Um, you know what's crazy about him? Brent Jones brought this up yesterday. There are Montana qualities to him, and there are Brady qualities to him. Now, is he Brady? Is he Montana? No. He still needs to figure out what it's like to really have a bad game and to, he's had it really easy as far as success. But I would like to see when he gets a little more diversity, what's going to happen, or adversity, I should say. Um, so, but I'm not taking anything away from him too. He's not a system quarterback. He's legit. I think about it all the time now. If the Niners were in that same situation that Jimmy Garoppolo faced in the Super Bowl of a 3rd and long and trying to deliver a long pass to Emmanuel Sanders, I think Brock Purdy completes it to Brandon Ayuk at this point. I've been thoroughly impressed with him. I've changed my tune. It's not just the Niners defense would face better quarterbacks and Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy may be on the same level as those guys. I don't think they're yet, but the way that the system is run, and he's not a system quarterback. Like, what I hate is that everyone, they say, oh, there's a system quarterback. Well, every quarterback needs to fit a system.
Right.
And also, I thought Richard Sherman had a good argument today about why Brock Purdy should be an MVP, or MVP consideration. He just has a bunch of talent around him. Who doesn't? Who doesn't have talent around them? So I'm tired of the narrative that Brock Purdy's not the guy. I think that's stupid. He's just got something, man. Steve Young talks about it every week, where he doesn't get fazed by the situation. He's maybe playing 4 years in college helps him. He just is really mature. He gets it. He's like another coach on the field. Kyle doesn't need to hold his hand. He just gets it, and it's incredible to watch.
Plus, he's really low key, like a low key individual. I think all he cares about is football. Like, I really think it's the type of thing. It's what we see with Mahomes.
Yep.
Look at the quarterback show. Look at Mahomes. Look at Kirk Cousins. Like, those guys, they don't care about the off field glamour. You know what I mean? They don't care about going to clubs every night. Like, they're not gonna. Brock Purdy's not the type of guy that's gonna be like a Ken Stabler type, where he's gonna go to a local dive bar on like a Saturday night, late on Saturday night, have a bunch of drinks with a whole ton of 49er fans, then wake up at 10 in the morning hungover and then go out and win a football game. He's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's all football for him. And I think that when you put him in the tier of those guys, it's hard to right now. Like, God, you never want to be too hyperbolic, but he's just so calm. Like, it's his feet, man. Like, I've never watched a quarterback's feet so much, but like,
all right, Greg.
I know, right? But it's how calm he is. Seriously, it's just like 3-step drop, 5-step drop. He gets set. He's always ready to throw. Like, that's what's impressive about him. Compare that to Jimmy Garoppolo, for example. When there's a little bit of pressure going his way, Garoppolo, everyone knows
happy
about
feet.
it. Everyone knows about the happy feet. It's like it looks like he's, dancing around someone shooting a machine gun at his feet, like dancing around bullets, like in The Mask. Like, but with Purdy, he just drops back, gets set, looks around a little bit. Oh, you know what? I don't have it. I'm just going to dump it off to Debo right here in the flat. Like, there's a couple of plays he made yesterday where there's a screen pass, which the Cowboys obviously had a free lane to rush. And I think, the numbers with him being blitzed against and being pressured, not nearly as good as they are when he has a clean pocket. But I wonder how many of those actually come when there's a screen pass, because last night there were 2 nights ago, rather, there were a couple of them where I'm like, there's no way that Purdy can make a play out of this. and somehow he just gets it right into this spot where only McCaffrey can catch it. He's just so accurate with the football. He does everything well, like everything. I'm just I don't know, every week in, week out. And I think that as far as like the MVP consideration, this team's averaging over 30 points a game, just put up 42 on this Dallas defense, which lives off turnovers. Like, you don't get 30 points a game just because your wide receivers are really good. Like,
Yeah.
you don't do that. But you do that because you're a good quarterback and how valuable you could be to that team because, hey, let's just put Sam Darnold in for the rest of the season and see how they do. It's not going to be the same.
No, it's not gonna be the same. I still think he'd be somewhat effective, but not wouldn't be the same. And next to Miami, I think they are the best team, best offensive football.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw earlier in the chat here, Ernie says they're not even close. Like, you don't think a Miami could beat the Niners at this point? I don't. I think we saw it a year ago. Um, it would be competitive. I think a little bit better than last year, but I think the Niners' physicality would rough up the Dolphins. Dolphins are explosive offensively, but I don't think they're physical enough to hang with the Niner team. So I don't know yet.
When you got Warner and Greenlaw just patrolling the middle of the field, it just leaves it gives the cornerbacks less to think about.
Yeah.
On the defensive side, I think it would be interesting. I think it'd be a little more because it seems like McDaniel's like kind of got this whole new offense working with Tua, but if they pressure him like they did with Tua last year and just force him into making errant throws, which it's like, I remember the conversation leading up to that last year. Tua was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football. Then when he faced the 49ers, but he missed them just by that much. You think it's just because Tua was off that day? No, he makes those throws in his sleep. It's because the 49ers defense was getting after him.
Yep.
And I kind of went off on a tangent about Purdy, but yeah, I can't get enough of Fred Warner too. Like, this dude is just a menace, does everything. I do think it was a little overblown when he was, a couple of steps behind Brandon Cooks. Like, he was following him a little bit, but he didn't get absolutely burnt. But I do think had that ball actually been thrown a little bit better than Cooks would have been to the house. But still, like, he was within a couple of yards of him, which is impressive in itself.
Yeah. As far as the flip side, Dak Prescott, yikes. 3 interceptions thrown, probably his worst game against the Niners. He said all week that he's pissed off about what happened 2 years in a row and came out and laid an egg. And then our guy, Dante Whitner, said he sucks on TV. Dante actually just came on with us today and said, got a little in trouble for that one from CBS, so I'm not going to say that anymore. But
you mean NBC or CBS?
He works for CBS too, so he works on the CBS college games.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He does like Fresno State games. They called him up and said, "Please refrain from using the word suck on TV, please." I'm sure NBC wasn't happy about that either. But it's apt. I wouldn't. Dak Prescott doesn't suck. He just struggles against the Niners, and you wonder if he's elite enough to win a Super Bowl. And Micah Parsons, I'm all for podcasts. Obviously, you and I have one, but I don't think every athlete should have one. And I think Micah Parsons came across looking very bad. The Niners do a great job of taking away fantastic defensive linemen because they don't put their quarterbacks in situations to be sacked or to hang on the ball for too long. That's why you've never seen Aaron Donald. I should take that back. I remember him having a 4-sack game against the Niners in Kyle's first season. But since then, he's never really dominated a game, with the exception of the NFC Championship game. That's Micah Parsons did not have a single sack, or I don't know how much stats he registered in the game.
He had 4 tackles, but he also had like zeros across the board in terms of pressure.
Yeah. So he had a bad game, and the Cowboys altogether had a bad game. But to come out afterwards and say, well, I wouldn't say the score was indicative of the game itself. If we ever played them again, it would be a different story. I think we're on the same level as a Niner team. If they ever met up again in the playoffs, that could be the case. But I just don't say that after a game. And I think when you go on your podcast and I don't know,
I think he's getting a little podcast ego right now.
Yeah.
These guys love it when Micah Parsons is the one calling out Rodney Harrison for saying Zach Wilson's garbage. And Micah Parsons is getting all the love. See, Micah's keeping it real. Michael's doing it. It's like, okay, like you're trying to talk up other players, but then you lose. Like, I don't know. Sometimes podcasts can just be left. You don't need to have a podcast just because Bleacher Report's paying an obscene amount of money, I bet, to like Mookie Betts and Micah Parsons now just for doing like in-season stuff, having actual active players. What are you looking confused at with the TV?
Well, how much is Fox paying Derek Jeter to do their pre and post now? I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, he's been on there for a long time. He's been on there through the season.
Jeez, is he good?
No, because he hates A-Rod.
So why is he doing it with them?
Because they probably paid him a shit ton of money. Like these.
Yeah, you have to pay Derek Jeter a shit ton of money for. He's having a good life. Surprised he wants to do this. Same thing with Tom Brady. Anyway,
it's a terrible lineup. But no, man, it's too much talking because a lot of talking can get you in trouble. Like stay behind. What is it? The real G's stay in silence like lasagna or whatever.
Yes, like the Carter said.
Real G's stay in silence, move in silence like benign.
What?
Real G's move in silence like
lasagna.
I need to think of another G, silent G. I can't think of one at the moment.
Benign.
Beignet? Ooh, real G's move in silence like beignets. Does that have a G in it?
Actually, I have no idea. Probably not. But beignets are tasty. Micah Parsons, like if his podcast producer set this up where he's angry at what George Kittle did with the "Fuck Dallas" shirt, that's stupid. This whole thing is dumb. From Micah Parsons saying like, "Oh, you want to make it personal?" He's not making it personal. He's just wearing a shirt. Gary Plummer wore the same one after the '94 championship game. He's just making an ode to a former Niner. And it's fun with the rivalry.
Shall I play it, Derek? Shall I play the Up and Adams show?
Yeah, you want it? Well, Kay Adams. Yeah, sure. Play Debo's response to this.
My God, but I'm gonna say this: laugh now, cry later. We got something for that. Just trust. If we see them again, just trust. And we're gonna put it just like that. I ain't gonna put too much on it. You gonna make it personal? We can make it personal.
I think
How personal is it?
It was already personal before the game started. Now 42-10. I don't think you want to see us again. It might be a little bit worse.
I'm gonna act like I wasn't expecting that.
Debo.
I don't know what we trust.
Micah, Debo. I don't know what to say. I'm getting uncomfortable.
I don't know what we trust. We trust, laugh now, cry later. I mean, I don't think you want to see us again.
Was she getting all hot and bothered from that? What was that about?
It looked like it.
Jesus. And she didn't expect Debo to respond like that? Okay.
See, stuff like this, it comes out of insecurity, right? They're just trying to talk themselves up, laugh now, cry later. What are you talking about? You've lost twice in a year in the post, 2 years in a row in the postseason. Then you just got blown out at Levi Stadium when you acted like that you're on, and you said you're on the same level. It's all out of insecurity. It's the same thing with Debo too. Like, it might have come from a place of real confidence in his team, but I also think like his comments on the Eagles all year was indicative of the insecurity he felt about people thinking that the Eagles are better than the Niners. It's like, it's all of that. So I think that's where it's coming from. It's more of a place of like, how can you not just admit, like, if Micah Parsons is the real one here, if he's this podcast guy who's going to be speaking for his team, like, it's a bad look.
Yeah. I think that a lot of players talk too much after a loss. I think that the Niners talk too much after they lost to the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are talking way too much after they lost to the Niners. You lost. It was a terrible performance all the way around. You shouldn't. Well, next time we play them, it's going to be different. Just say you lost, and we got to regroup, and we'll figure things out. You're embarrassed because this team has smacked you in the mouth 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So just take your lumps. And if you see them again, then act on it. Like, I remember when the Patriots beat the Jets in 2010, when the Jets were all hyped up like 45-3 in the regular season. The Jets took their ass kicking, and then they came back in the playoffs and beat the Patriots in the second round of the playoffs. That's just how you answer back. You don't talk. You don't do all these podcasts. You just answer back with a win. and that's what Michael Parsons needs to do. And I think Debo. Did he? What was it? The Zach Gelb show where he walked away from the Eagle stuff?
Yeah.
That happened in the offseason or the summertime. I think that he actually, in hindsight now, was probably tired of bringing that stuff up because it made him look bad. Now, walking away from the interview made him look bad too. But I think that in reality, the Niners looked bad for complaining about the loss to the Eagles. Because, yeah, it sucked. Brock Purdy got hurt, but it is what it is. You lost. So and I think that's what the Cowboys need to do here is just move on to the next game, move on to the Chargers, and hope that you make the playoffs and hope that you face the Niners again and this time kick their ass.
Got boat raced. That's what the Cowboys did. The 49ers hopped on the HMS Purdy, and the Cowboys got absolutely boat raced.
A Brock race, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Should we do quick hits before we do our overreactions?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's do it. Did you watch this 6:30 game between the Jags and Bills?
No. Fair warning. I didn't watch many games this weekend. Obviously busy.
I saw you though. We were up in San Francisco.
Well, I guess I watched the morning slate, but we watched the morning slate. But I mean, come on, Jacob, what are you booking your birthday on like a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah,
Come on,
I know.
football season, man.
Yeah, he was lucky I wasn't that guy at the party that whipped out my phone and be like, "All right, yeah, that's nice to meet you, nice to meet you. All right, John Curley, let's get back to this red zone here," which I did also, by the way.
Nice.
Yes. As soon as you left, I was like, all right, I don't know many people here at this party. So me and John Curley sat in the back and we looked at my phone the whole time. We were those people at the party. It's totally fun.
Well, I mean, we did kind of get stared at when we walked in. You get that kind of weird feeling, like that feeling of, oh, these people don't care to know who we are.
Well, the reality is we showed up with Safeway sandwiches because I didn't know if there was going to be food or not. Because I didn't look at the invitation from our buddy Jacob where we were supposed to meet at Fort Mason apartment instead of actually Fort Mason to watch the Blue Angels. And yeah, we were walking around. I'm like, Jacob, where the hell are you? He's like, dude, I sent you the actual address on the invitation. I was like, shit, I didn't even look at that. But
yeah, we did show up with the bag of Safeway with just a bunch of chips and deli sandwiches when they had like all this fancy food laid out. I mean,
they had a nice spread, and we came in like a couple of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, with just a couple of the hoagies ready to go.
Yeah, that might have been a bad look on our part. So maybe it's on us.
Maybe, but I do not regret watching football on Sunday and putting my phone out or taking my phone out when I needed to. All right, Jags Bills, big game to have in London, and it was an exciting game for the most part. Jags came out. They rule London now 2 weeks in a row. And I think it was really the travel that got to the Bills and also injuries. But with the Jags being there for 2 weeks and the Bills traveling on Friday, I think kind of messed them up a little bit. The offense did not go as smoothly as it did a week ago against the Dolphins. And I think, honestly, the Bills are going to have some issues with Tre'Davious White being out. And now Matt Milano out with a broken leg and torn ACL. I may be wrong on that one, but he did break his leg, and those are two of their best defensive players. And Von Miller just came back, and he's off an ACL. So they did a good job getting the quarterback. But Trevor Lawrence had a very impressive game. Travis Etienne ran the ball very well. Not going to put too much stock into it with the Bills, but I wouldn't be surprised if their defensive line can get to quarterbacks. They're pretty good. They get a lot of sacks. AJ Epinoza is pretty impressive now.
Mm-hmm.
Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, but they may be affected in the pass game and the running game a little bit without Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White now.
I think that's huge. Like, it may not impact them the regular season. Their offense can carry the way, but by the time it makes it to the postseason, you're out on your all-pro linebacker, Matt Milano, who is absolutely a difference maker, and Tre'Davious White, who can be one of the best corners in the league if healthy. Yeah, that's not it's not looking good for the Bills. Regular season, they might be top of the AFC East. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to bode well for the postseason.
Yeah.
That's the most obvious thing to say, but Matt Milano, we said it on the last pod on Saturday. We were like, damn, this guy's actually, even though he was an all-pro last year, he seems to be like one of the more underrated linebackers in the league. Like, no one talks about him.
His coverage skills are amazing.
Yeah.
Like right there with Fred Warner. I'm not as physical as Fred Warner, but He gets picks.
Well, he's used more to get in the backfield, like as far as blitzing and stuff. He puts more pressure, I think, on the quarterback in the run game than Fred Warner does. Like huge loss.
Yeah. Other games that happened, the Lions offense is impressive, and their defense is pretty impressive too. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the season. I believe they lost some. Oh, you know what sucks? They lost Emmanuel Mosley, first game back. Tore his ACL a year ago, came back first game, tore the other ACL.
Yeah,
that sucks.
That's awful.
But they were without Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs. Still put up 42 points. Said it earlier. Sam Laporta has been a great tight end for them, explosive. Jameson Williams came back. Jared Goff looks comfortable in this offense. They're equal parts explosive offensively and physical with the running game and the way they play defense. And they're going to get better. They're going to get a groove going with the receiving core of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. They may be the third best team in the NFC. Next to the Niners and Eagles, they may be better than the Cowboys after what we saw.
If you had a little bit better of a quarterback than Jared Goff, then I think you'd be putting him up there as the second best team in the NFC right now. That offensive and defensive line just dominates. Like it starts in the trenches. They've built, like you want to talk about we talk about the Raiders rebuilding, and they're trying to do that through their offensive line. Well, that's what the Lions did. And then you cap it off with Aiden Hutchinson at the second overall pick. And we looked at it with the pressures earlier. He's leading the league in total pressures right now, just constantly getting into the backfield. They just manhandle teams, man. And this last week, again, what is it, for the third week in a row? It's just, they just big boyed the other team. Like they just said, hey, we're more physical than you are. We're better along the trend. We're better in the trenches. We're going to just out-muscle you. And that's what the Lions have been doing. And that's what they did against Carolina.
Yep. Bijan Robinson is sick. This guy is going to be one of the best running backs in football, if not already is. Falcons got a little pick-me-up game against the Texans. Both teams are very impressive. I'm not impressed with Desmond Ridder. I think they have a lot of talent, and they may be a team in the offseason that, they could make the playoffs this season, but they could be that team that, we're one step away if we get a great quarterback. So I'm not that impressed with Desmond Ridder. I like the offense a lot. Their defense is pretty good too. Texans too. I'm very impressed with C.J. Stroud. Their defense, though, they're both these teams are going to be really good going forward. They're very young right now. They played a close game, 21-19, but both of these teams are going to be very impressive in years to come, I think.
Texans just need somebody outside of like Tank Dell and Nico Collins as a wide receiver. Then they'll be pretty set. They also got to build up their offensive line a little bit, but other than that, I think they're really built for it. And, it's funny with the Falcons, like, look at what happens when you actually put the ball in your best player's hands, like actually giving Bijan 14 carries. His stats didn't pop out too much. But Drake London, Kyle Pitts, getting everyone involved. Those guys got more touches than anyone else on the team, and that's how it should be. And that resulted in wins. And I'm telling you, that Falcons secondary is no joke. That secondary is really good. And I think that's why they held the Texans to just 19 points after they scored 30 plus the past couple of weeks.
And the Falcons offense may get better because I thought it was a good pickup today when they traded for Van Jefferson from the Rams. So could see more explosion in the offense if Desmond Ridder's up to task. Titans offense is this is what I thought with DeAndre Hopkins going there. They just don't put up enough points. They got a bare bones kind of offense, like old offense, if you will, not the state of the art one. They just give the ball to Derrick Henry and throw when they can to, Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm really impressed with the Colts. I think Shane Steichen's done an amazing job so far. He knows what he wants. He wants to run the football. Jonathan Taylor came back, and they barely even used him. It was Zach Moss getting 121 yards, I believe. And they play good defense. They have Gus Bradley still there as defensive coordinator, and they remind me of the Eagles a little bit of how they looked a season ago, where they play good defense and they run the football. Now, one thing Shane Steichen needs to do is find a way to protect Anthony Richardson a lot better, because this is, 5 weeks into the season of his young career, and he's already out twice. And the first time was a concussion. What is it now? I think he hurt his ankle or his shoulder. What was it? Do you know the injury, Steven?
This one was a shoulder.
Shoulder. If he's going to be Jalen Hurts running around, he's got to protect himself a lot better.
I like how Gardner Minshew just continues to win every time he's brought into a game. It's so funny just watching Minshew react after a game. No, I'm with you. The Titans, though, like where's their schedule heading? Because they're that team. I told you, we called it the box of chocolates team, right? You never know what you're going to get. Like they could fall to the Colts, and then next week, now that they're at home the next couple of weeks, they could pick up 2 wins in a row because they're a much better team at home. And for some reason, they just always play hard whenever they're around Tennessee as opposed to away. Like that's why they're right there with the, in the 8-9 win range, because, they can lay an egg one day and then the next day, Derrick Henry looks like Derrick Henry. Tannehill looks like he did, what was it, week 2, I think, this year, where he's just like passing all over the field to Treylon Burks. I don't know what to make of them right now, but they're just, last week, just again, a product of their offense just not being all that dynamic.
Saints look really impressive. It may be that they're playing the Patriots, and I don't know what the hell is going on there. But from a team that scored 0 or doesn't score that often, I think they scored 9 points in total against the Buccaneers to put up 34 against the Patriots was really impressive. Derek Carr did not struggle against the Bill Belichick defense. He looks comfortable in that Saints offense as last week. Saints defense is for real. I'm surprised how terrible the Patriots are. I thought they wouldn't be good this season, but I didn't think they'd be this bad. They may be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. To be outscored, I won't do the math fast here, but last week they lost 38-3. This week they lost 34-0. It's bad. This is the worst Bill Belichick team he's had, I think, in New England. And I know that Mac Jones had Matt Patricia as his OC last year, and now he's got Bill O'Brien. But Jesus, what the hell's going on? Their offense is atrocious.
Starts in the trenches, man. They don't have any talent. And with the defense, you're missing Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. Might as well kiss the season goodbye at this point. Yeah.
And then we got the Dolphins, the fastest team in football. They right now, while I say the Niners have the best overall team, I think the Dolphins have the best offense, and they're incredible to watch. Defensively, they're right there too. I think Tua struggled a little bit. He threw a pick 6, but he was fine when he's out. When he's off his rhythm a little bit, he's going to struggle. That's why I'm not really buying him for MVP just yet. Giants offense. What I've been realizing more is that while Brian Dable, I think, is a good coach, he schemed it up last year with not a lot of talent. And they upgraded here or there, Darren Waller. But teams can figure you out if you don't have a lot of talent. It can't just be scheming up with, coaching. It needs to be a mix of scheming, having good coaching, good offensive play calls, and also having talent. And I don't think the Giants have that right now.
No, they're crap. They're trash. They suck.
Jesus.
They stink.
All right, Dante.
They stink. I want to focus on the Dolphins though, and this injury to Devon Achane or Achane, how you pronounce it, that could be pretty big. But that guy, like, how did they find this dude? What do you have? 150?
4th round?
What do you have? 150 yards rushing? Like,
he's fast.
How'd they spot that this dude was a perfect fit? I do think the Dolphins have the best offense in the league, but I don't think, unlike the 49ers, the way that I look at the 49ers right now, it's hard to see a team actually stopping them. We haven't seen it yet. Thought maybe the Cowboys could be that team, although I didn't believe it. Turns out that they're not. I don't know which team can stop them. And we've seen what team can stop the Dolphins offense. That's a Bills defense that's actually fully healthy and getting into the backfield coming off a 70-point performance. So the way that they run those little motion routes where they line up Tyreek Hill as like a tight end and then just basically run him on a wheel route going to the outside of the sideline, then Tua just drops it right into the breadbasket. They're just efficient, man, and it's crazy.
Not even how about Tyreek Hill against the Bills lining up as a running back, then Devon Achane lining up as a wide receiver, and he comes on motion because everyone focuses on Tyreek Hill, and this guy is coming around the end. It's innovative stuff that one McDaniel can do and one McDaniels can't.
Can I actually, you know what? No, I'll save it for the overreactions. Never mind. I was going to play McDaniel's. I was going to play McDaniel's Cup, but it also plays into the
Mike or
overreaction.
Josh?
Mike.
Gotcha.
Plays into the overreactions.
Steelers may have the best defensive football. Now, I know what I said earlier. Obviously, Niners, best team of football, not even close. I think they have the best offense and defensive collectively in football. But if you're asking me individually as far as a team, I think the Dolphins have the best offense. I think the Steelers have the best defense. And the defense kept them alive in that game. TJ Watt, I think, is having a defensive player of the year again season. Lamar Jackson's, they were up 10-8, and he throws the interception in the end zone to Odell. Looked like it was just like, here you go. Bad pass. I know everyone's upset with the Steelers offense and Matt Canada. They all want him fired. I think even at the Pittsburgh Penguins game tonight, they all were chanting "Fire Canada" at one point. Yeah, the offense needs to be better, but George Pickens, I think they got a little groove going now. Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, it was there last year. Now they're finding their rhythm again. It was impressive to see them get back in that game and win that game.
I do think I don't think you can mention that game though without at least mentioning the drops that the Ravens had. They had some wide open plays where, Zay Flowers had a couple of them where he could have just maybe taken a couple to the house. There's one where he just straight fell over on a route. But to your point with the Steelers, it's not just TJ Watt though. It's also on the other end with Alex Highsmith.
Yep.
Like that dude had a big sack in the second half. TJ Watt's, TJ Watt's the bread and butter, but like Alex Smith is, I don't know, maybe the added jam that you put on top or something. Alex Highsmith. Yeah. He's the added jam that you put on top. I don't know, whatever you want on your bread and butter.
Jam.
Yeah. Jam.
How much jam you got, man?
By the way, the chat with Otis Bird. Otis Bird's in here with AJ and the Ernies. They're arguing tomatoes. Since we brought up hoagies, they're talking tomatoes on sandwiches.
I've noticed that. They're not even paying attention to what we're saying right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's nice. I just made a little pasta sauce tonight with tomatoes. Well,
I love Bloody Marys, but I'm not a tomato guy.
Oh, you just got to make them the right way, my man.
From scratch,
dude. No, you don't make them, but like you.
I don't have time to harvest and.
You got to grow your own tomatoes, Derek.
No, I do not have time for that.
Yes, you do. In your apartment where you're seemingly like in a dorm. Yeah, you have the time to grow.
Steven, I don't even put up things on my walls. You think I have time to?
This is true.
Garden and tomatoes.
Yeah, but I was really proud of the sauce that I made tonight. I saw it on Instagram. Grilled up a little Italian sausage, took it out of the casing. Then
look at you.
Took the sausage out of the pan, then halved a bunch of cherry tomatoes, put them in there so they softened up, then put some tomatoes, some fresh basil, then a little burrata and oregano in a blender, blended that up, put a little pasta water in there to emulsify the sauce, and then put a little pasta on there. Delicious.
Okay, now the real test is I have to come over and eat your pasta as one Italian from a non-Italian person.
You're not coming over.
Fine.
All right, fine. I'll let you come over.
Okay, thanks. All the Ernies and everybody are invited. Otis Bird, you too.
All of you.
But not AJ Cruz. You're definitely not invited. I'm kidding.
Not you, AJ.
Not you. No, everybody's invited. Or maybe not. I probably should check with Jesse first. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have found their groove again. Joe Burrow actually moved around pretty well. So I don't know if the calf is fully healed, but he looked good. And Jamar Chase catching 15 receptions, I think 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, finally paying off to be the third pick in most fantasy leagues. Looked really good. But kind of sad to hear about James Conner out for 4 weeks with, I think, a knee injury, so he'll be on the IR.
I like the idea that just playing through an injury makes you stronger. It's like, yeah, all right. I played here. My leg's been hurt. I came up limping after a couple of games. But you know what? I'm feeling better now.
They must know something where it's not going to turn out like Aaron Rodgers. Otherwise, there had to be some kind of hesitation with this. Mm-hmm. Like maybe that was the case a couple of weeks ago when they played the Rams when we didn't know if he was going to play or not. He had the setback. Owner of the team, Mike Brown, is in a golf cart with him saying, should we play you? Should we not play you? They must feel good about it going forward.
Yeah, I think they should. The Bengals prove they're not too far away right now. 2-3 is very manageable when looking at the standings, because in the AFC, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag right now. It's almost wide open. A lot of 3-2 teams. Only the Chiefs and Dolphins are 4-1. Browns and Chargers are 2-2. Texans, Titans, Jets, Raiders, and Bengals all 2-3. Like, the Bengals could absolutely squeak in with through the wild card spot. Maybe even
or
win
maybe in the division.
Yeah, maybe even win the AFC North.
Eagles, they just know how to win. Like, Jalen Carter was very impressive, had the 2 sacks. Hassan Reddick, they're getting to the quarterback a little bit more, but offensively, some games they put up 34 points against the Commies last week, and then last week or this past game against the Rams, they kind of struggle a little bit offensively, but A.J. Brown's still getting his. They just know how to win. They dominate the time of possession. They just run the football. They play solid defense for the most part. They just know how to win right now, and I don't think they're on the Niners level yet. But when they play each other in I think week 14, it may be an even match, just because of the style of the way that both teams play. As far as the Rams, like I said earlier, they traded away Van Jefferson. They might have a thing going here with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, because the first drive we saw Cooper Kupp getting all the catches, then Puka Nacua gets the touchdown. They may have a nice thing going there with that Cooper Puka combo.
The Puka Nacua pup.
Exactly.
The Puka Nacua pup. The Cooper Nacua pup. No, I don't know. Yeah, it's a great duo. Look, the Eagles, the thing that's impressive to me with them and Jalen Hurts is the luxury you have with him is he's a guy who can he can throw, right? Very accurate with the football, has a good connection with A.J. Brown, but it's easy to forget that. I mean, I know we always talk about Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields, but Jalen Hurts is one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. And his legs saved him, I think, in this game, or saved the team in this game. He had 15 carries, not all of them on design runs, 72 yards. A lot of that's the tush push, the brotherly shove. And by the way, actually, I didn't mention this from the Raider game, but I saw this as a talking point after Marcus Peters with the horse collar tackle, which kind of saved it at the end.
Yeah.
Because the Packers didn't score. I think this was another Dove Kleiman special, but much like the brotherly shove, he's like, ooh, should that be outlawed? Should the penalties automatically be given a score to the team if they know for a fact they're going to get a touchdown? No, that's just a good play. It's just a good football play.
Yeah.
And that's what the Eagles are running right now. Don't outlaw it just because you can't beat it. That's what baseball's trying to do, because baseball thought people stopped watching games because they lasted too long and they wanted more base hits and they were tired of the 3 true outcomes. Well, it turns out that banning the shift didn't make too much of a difference by the looks of it, but like, you don't make those changes just because someone has too much success with it. The Eagles are going to continue to do it. It's not a clean 5-0 right now. What the 49ers are going through, it's a very clean 5-0. They're cruising, but look back at this game. You see a little moment where Jason Kelsey is kind of blowing up at Nick Sirianni on the sideline, and an offensive coordinator too. Some disagreements going on. Of course, that's just all because it's all competition. It's all passion, whatever, but still, teams that are rolling, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They aren't yelling at each other on the sideline because there's no reason to if you're rolling. And the Eagles still got a ways to go, but they're 5-0. So
they're 5-0. So we'll see. Maybe they do. I mean, like, waiting for every week for them to like get a solid game offensively and defensively, but haven't seen it yet. But that may just be the struggles of having, go through a great season last year, and then everyone's going to for you the next season. Speaking of which, the Chiefs. Good win. They beat the Vikings, and sad to hear about Justin Jefferson with that hamstring injury. He'll be back he'll be out for 4 weeks, and they think he may be gone a little bit after that too. So you might see the Vikings struggle a little bit, and you might see them start dealing some guys at the deadline here. We'll see about that. But as far as this game, they hung around with the Chiefs for the most part. Kind of a controversial ruling in the end where it looked like L'Jarius Sneed took off his helmet, and the referees tell him to put the helmet back on. He wasn't penalized. Questionable if the ball was tipped. That was a 4th down play that should have been a PI call, but the ball was tipped, so they pick up the flag. In the end, the Chiefs win. Travis Kelce initially hurt, but then comes back. Good for Mr. Pfizer. I fucking hate that nickname. That's not cool, Aaron Rodgers. But Chiefs get the win. And to me, the Chiefs kind of seem like the Warriors, where they've won their rings now. They get by with wins, but it's not. It's like they're coasting a little bit. They're not. It's not the same urgency. They know that teams are gunning from them, and Mahomes, still great. Probably he's the leader in the clubhouse for MVP. If you look for betting,
Yeah.
betting, but it just doesn't feel like they're dominating teams like they used to.
Yeah, but much like the Warriors, when it gets to the playoffs, you can't count them out.
Nope,
like every
totally.
team has respect for them when they get there. And if they just keep on winning, whatever. And just sad that, man, that Kirk Cousins bonfires with Coop just filled with tears.
Yeah, those s'mores got to taste as bad. Yeah,
That's a good bonfire there, Coop.
By Coop.
Oh man, if anyone doesn't know that reference, just watch that show Quarterback. It's just heartwarming, very wholesome. Just Kirk Cousins, after he goes out, dominates, throws a few touchdowns, goes home, builds a bonfire with Coop. It's a good bonfire there, Coop.
You think Brock Purdy may get some attention for that show now?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know what the whole scenario is. So far I've heard Burrow and Stafford.
Well, is there a more compelling story than Mr. Irrelevant possibly becoming the MVP and, potentially winning the Super Bowl? Like, I think they're going to be they'll be paying money for Purdy to go on that show.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how they go about doing it. Is it separate than NFL Films? Is it where you could say, okay, well, it may be too late then.
Maybe. It's an Omaha production.
Yeah.
Manning's thing.
But NFL Films are a part of it, I want to say. So maybe they have the footage and then they do the sit downs later.
Oh, did Purdy decline? Ernie said Purdy declined.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I've not heard that. Lastly here, the Jets. And I've not gone back to watch the highlights of this game yet. But I'll just say this. Jets win. I saw Breece Hall get like a 72-yard touchdown run. That's good for him to get redemption from what happened in Denver a year ago where he tore his ACL. And the reality is everybody wanted the Jets to win because it was a good redemption story for Nathaniel Hackett. And, yeah, the Broncos deserve what they're getting right now. And mainly Sean Payton. Talking all that shit, kind of being arrogant. I'm glad Robert Saleh kind of leaned in a little bit and gave him like a, stay healthy, man. But we know Robert Saleh's a pro's pro. He's not going to talk shit. But he gave Nathaniel Hackett the game ball. You knew the Jets wanted to really win that game for their guy.
We both said that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like going into it, you knew that Sean Payton was going to eat his words. I mean, it's just the football gods, man. There's something. They're going to strike force down upon the whatever. Is that the way it goes? But you heard the pregame speech. It's like, I think it was good
CJ Uzomah.
CJ Uzomah with the green hair when he's in the middle of that scrum and he's, saying we're going to win this for Hackett and all those words that Peyton was using before. It was obvious that they were going to win. Although I'll say this for the Broncos. They got something in that rookie running back, Jaleel McLaughlin. Dude's a beast. Javonte Williams was hurt again. So McLaughlin's been picking up the carries the past couple of weeks. 9 for 68, 7 for 72, had a long of 38 last week, a long of 31 before. I think they got something in this rookie running back that they have there.
And that's our quick hits. Steven, do you have any overreactions?
I got a few, and it starts with the Miami Dolphins. Now, the NFL record for average points per game in a season, it's led by the 1950 Rams, 38.8. That's a huge number. But let's just take 1950 out of it, all right? Let's go a little more recent, within like the actual 21st century.
Yeah.
The 2013 Broncos averaged
600 points.
Averaged 37.9 points per game. Right now, the Dolphins are at 36.2 points per game. Do you think the Dolphins could surpass the Denver Broncos from 2013 in points per game this season.
Points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Is that an overreaction or underreaction? They will.
I
think
know that I
framed
want to say that
wrong.
I want to say the Broncos finished with 613 points scored that season. I could be wrong, but that's the number that comes to mind.
You know the actual points score?
I know you could check if I'm wrong, but I know they scored in the 600s. It's the first team ever to do that.
Dude, if it's 606.
All right, damn.
Damn.
I don't know why 613 came to mind. I'm going to say that's an overreaction, and I don't see it happening because the Dolphins are going to run into teams like the Eagles, and their schedule gets a little tougher. So I think, as you saw with the Buffalo Bills game, they can put it on teams that defensively can't keep up with them. But when they could get roughed up, they may have time, and they may have a hard time. May have a hard time struggling to having a hard time struggling to talk. Good Lord. May have a hard time scoring points. Good Lord.
Well, they
Hot
are
sauce is
leading.
getting-
They are leading in total points through 5 weeks, though. And Mike McDaniel with a very Mike McDaniel answer.
More yards through 5 games than any team in NFL history. You hear something like that. What is your reaction?
Mission accomplished. We had the whole time, the whole off season. That was our goal was output after 5 games.
No, I love him.
Oh man, he's an absolute. He's a gem.
He is a gem.
All right, let's see here. Oh, 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy should be a front runner for MVP over McCaffrey. Overreaction or underreaction?
That's an underreaction. That's appropriate.
Yeah,
He should be.
I think he's right there, man. I didn't really have it last week, but Jesus, again, just putting up 42 points, 4 touchdowns, majority. Like it felt like this was the Brock Purdy game. You know, the other ones, it felt like McCaffrey was kind of the engine that made the offense go, but really Purdy's there. It's like, God, this offense. I was trying to think of like an analogy because we're always using the car analogy for the 49ers offense. I was thinking of like West Coast Customs with that guy, Magic Mike or whatever his name was. Yo, I got you a PS2 and a flat screen TV.
You took a Pimp My Ride?
Yeah, Pimp My Ride with West Coast Customs. What was the guy's name? Something Mike?
I don't know, but those guys were terrible actors.
It's like, yo, I got you a PS2 hooked up to a DVD player and a TV. Plus, I put a boombox right here so you could play your music as you watch your DVDs. Doesn't make any sense.
And you definitely couldn't drive around in those things.
No, you could not.
But my favorite was always when they get the mechanics around a table and they were like, "So what are you gonna do?" Well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And the head mechanic always be like,
Yeah.
now that's a good idea. It's like these poor guys. They're making them act in the camera and everything. Terrible.
The guy who did the paint jobs was always consistent. That was all reliable right there with West Coast Customs. The paint jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Were sick.
And I also loved the slow motion and the fast motion zoom shots
Oh,
of
yeah.
Exhibit. Here I come. Now I'm slowing down. Here I come again.
Yo. All right. I missed that show. Bill Belichick will be the first coach fired.
No.
No. Who do you think?
Overreaction.
You think it's an overreaction. All right. Who do you think?
I thought Eberflus was going to get fired if they didn't win the Thursday night game.
Mm.
There still might be a chance that Brandon Staley gets fired too. Do I think Belichick gets fired in the offseason? Very strong chance of that, but I don't think he gets axed during the season.
Do you want to know someone I have that's kind of under the radar? And I might be wrong in saying this, and I could be just overreacting to a certain sound clip. But did you hear Frank Reich earlier?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'll play that again just for the audience. But like, I'll just say this: think, because we got a bunch of 49ers fans listening. So think about the way the 49ers handle their business, right? You no longer hear from the owner, Jed York. You don't hear Kyle Shanahan talking about his relationship with Jed York. Well, Panthers head coach Frank Reich was asked about the dynamics within their front office and within their team. Listen to Reich talk about them.
There's different philosophies in ownership. You know what I mean? Some owners kind of stay away and don't engage a whole lot. Other owners do. And his philosophy is he's going to engage. And listen, it's only been a short experience, but it's been a really good experience. It hasn't been fun. It's not fun. Those meetings aren't, I wouldn't characterize them as fun meetings. But those meetings make me better, and I trust they make us better.
Maybe I'm overreacting to that. That didn't sound too bad upon second listen.
I think that they're not going to fire him because I think that while David Temper may have a temper, I think that they know what's going on here. They were the first overall pick. Even though they weren't the worst team in football last year, they traded up to get that pick. So I think there's going to be growing pains. I think Frank Reich, even though he's voicing this to everyone, he's saying kind of like, I'm used to this, because his old owner was Jim Irsay, and we all know that he's crazy. So I think he's just honestly saying, this is what I'm used to. I understand that when you get in this business and you're a head coach, you have to answer to the owners, and it hasn't been fun because we're losing. You have some owners that sit idly by and just don't, get up in your shit. And there's some guys that expect to win and want to know what's going on. And I think he's saying he kind of respects that. So I wouldn't insinuate anything with Frank Reich's job status.
Okay. And one more. This will be the only season, or the last season rather, where Russell Wilson is the quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
I do not think that's an overreaction. I think that with everything that's being reported lately, sounding like they could have a total teardown at the trade deadline, I don't think they could trade Russell Wilson at this point.
These are his numbers. I got him up on the screen here for his contract. Now, over the cap, it says his dead cap is $85 million next year. So if they outright cut him, it cost them a pretty penny.
But we have seen quarterbacks traded before the last couple years here. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, that had huge dead caps. Aaron Rodgers with the Packers this offseason. I don't know if they'll get rid of Russell Wilson per se, just because he is actually doing all right, better than last year. But if it comes down to Russell Wilson or Sean Payton, Sean Payton didn't sign this contract with just being a one-off. He had to have full control of this team. That's why he just told Randy Gregory, hit the bricks. So, yes, there could be a total rebuild with Sean Payton in control of everything. I don't think the Broncos ownership paid him all that money just for a one-year thing, and then they got to figure it out with Russell Wilson. If he wants to get rid of him, they may just get rid of him.
God, shout out to the Seahawks for that trade.
It's looking like the worst trade in history with the Broncos.
It's like it turned into Devon Witherspoon, Charles Cross, Derek Hall. Like, and we talk about that, good Lord, what the Herschel Walker trade, where basically the Cowboys built their entire Super Bowl roster based on that one trade from the Vikings, or to the Vikings rather. I don't know if it's on that level, but Charles Cross and Devon Witherspoon are like basically cornerstone pieces that you're trying to build around, at least for their respective positions. Woof.
Yeah, the only difference is that the Herschel Walker trade, gave the Cowboys multiple Super Bowls. So we'll see what happens with the Seahawks, but yeah, they definitely got the better end of that trade so far.
Well, that's it for overreactions from Week 5.
All right then, Steven, anything else? Baseball playoffs, Bochy officially moving on. I don't know if I like. I'm not saying this because the Dodgers are on the verge of being eliminated once again. And to be completely honest, I don't think they care, because they saved a lot of money this year, and they got 100 wins, and they're most likely to go out and get Ohtani and probably Blake Snell. So even if they lose, they're gonna have a good offseason, I think.
I think they care a little bit.
Well, of course. I mean, John Curley. I was with John Curley when he tweeted this out. If Dave Roberts gets fired as Dodgers manager, would you want him for the Giants?
I don't know. I have a tough time gauging managers, man. Like, I know I'm supposed to have like an opinion on everything, but I don't know who would be the right managerial fit, because I don't know what the dynamics of power are within that Giants clubhouse. Like, how much of that was Gabe Kapler in terms of like the bullpen switches. I know that he was going off a model, but how many times, did Farhan maybe expect that he should have gone with his gut? I think I'd just take Dave Roberts because he seems to be very personable. Gabe Kapler tried to be a player's coach, but I don't think a lot of players could relate to him. I think Dave Roberts can be a player's type of coach. And in that regard, yeah, I'd take him. But I don't know how effective he'd be with a roster that the Giants have going into next year.
Well, so far in the baseball playoffs, it's been exciting to watch the Phillies and Braves series. And the Diamondbacks have been playing very well. That's why, we just saw the Rangers sweep the Orioles, so they're going to the ALCS. I can't remember the last time they were in I guess 2010 when they faced off against the Giants. No, wait, and then they went to with Ron Washington, right? Back-to-back years, they lost to the Cardinals.
Yeah, 2011. Oof.
Yeah.
David Freese.
So my whole thing though is baseball is a game that needs to be played every day, and I'm not a fan of the bye week thing that's going on with them. You don't see it in basketball. The NFL is the only one that does the bye week thing, and with the playoffs, baseball teams need to keep playing. So if there's a way to keep this current structure, because I like having the extra team, but you got to have these teams playing. The rest, I don't know if it's helpful for teams like the Dodgers or the Orioles, and it makes for interesting series, but at the same time, and upsets. But I don't know if that's the right move.
This postseason hasn't been very entertaining.
Yeah. Dominant.
I'll put it that I don't really have much of an opinion on the format. I kind of come from the camp of, look, you had the time off. Like, how about you just play like you were during the season? Like, Jesus, come on, get your act together. But just in general, postseason hasn't been that exciting. The Braves and Phillies last night was about the most exciting game that there's been.
That's about it.
But that's really it. Outside of, I don't know, like a play by Correa and a play by Evan Longoria in like the 5th inning to save the game. Like, there hasn't been much going on. Again, the Braves and Phillies was like game 2 was really the most exciting game, I think, of the postseason, and the only exciting game of the postseason. I mean, what was the first game like this morning? The Astros beat up on the Twins pretty bad.
Yep.
So the Rangers just did the same thing to the Orioles. The Orioles didn't even make it competitive.
Yeah.
Maybe they should rethink that format. Maybe they should if it really impacts the teams. But I don't know. Just so far, not that entertaining.
If things hold up, though, a Bruce Bochy, Dusty Baker ALCS would be very interesting.
That'd be sick.
It would be sick, especially with the 2 Texas teams.
Yeah.
All right, that it, Steven? No reaction to the Warriors' first preseason game, because I know you were all locked in on that.
Oh man, Chris Paul and Steph Curry. They're about to be we're talking Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. Chris Paul, you might as well build a statue for Chris Paul outside Chase Center right now. I think Chris Paul just doing a little DHO, a little dribble handoff to Curry for 3, somehow create a statue out of that, because that's going to be a fixture within the Warriors offense this season. No, I just want to say to Chelsea star, went to Real Madrid, but didn't really do anything there. Star for Belgium, Eden Hazard, announced his retirement today at 32 years old. And with soccer, they didn't make the Premier League a thing, at least in America, until 2012 when NBC started broadcasting the games. I was always more of a casual Chelsea fan. I'd watch like those 2008 teams, the 2012 team even, with their upset over Bayern Munich in the Champions League, Chelsea versus Man United for the EPL final. I remember watching Didier Drogba in the penalty shootout, all that. But Eden Hazard was like the first player I truly watched week in, week out, thinking, damn, this dude's different. Just a magician at the ball at his feet. Just pure balance, pure class. Just so 32 years old, already retiring. Good luck to him.
Good luck to him. That's it? All you got?
You should watch the Beckham doc if you hadn't had a chance.
What's it on?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, first moment if any of you watch the Beckham thing, just know that you are watching something. You are watching a moment where it was the first time that I cried at something that happened in sports.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do all our.
Do you care what that is, Derek, or do you just want to?
Oh, sorry. No, I care, Stephen. What did you cry about?
Well, I was 5 years old. It was the '98 World Cup. England were taking on Argentina in the round of 16, and David Beckham was my favorite player. And everyone was, I mean, growing up with an England family, David Beckham was all the rage. I had his poster. I had Michael Owen's poster in my bedroom. And then 1998, I was watching the World Cup in England when they were up against Argentina. Then David Beckham gets sent off with a red card because Diego Simeone flopped. So, sad time.
I'm sorry, Steven.
Yeah.
Your 5-year-old little heart must have been crushed.
It's brutal.
AJ Cruz, you are more than welcome to recommend a movie to us.
Yes.
But we'll do more pop culture catch up. My voice went out there. Pop culture catch up and Jackass of the Week on Saturday's show. Saturday's show. Jesus, I can't speak tonight. God.
Just a heads up, AJ Cruz. If you do recommend a movie to Derek, he will likely not enjoy it because he's a stickler for movies. It's all right. That's the best that you're gonna get, AJ. You know how many movies I've recommended, and he's like, yeah, all right. It was good. It was good.
I have a high expectation for movies, Steven.
Mm-hmm.
Cinema. It needs to be a part of our lives. I'm talking about actually going into the theater and watching a movie. Speaking of which, I'm very excited to check out, maybe super long, but Killers of the Flower Moon, the new Scorsese flick.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long one, but it sounds like it's going to be good.
I read the audiobook.
Oh, how is it?
It's good, but I listened to the audiobook. I didn't read the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
You know, I like to count it as reading. Although there was a couple of times where it made me fall asleep, but it's setting up for a good flick.
What was the last great movie Derek had watched? Ooh.
Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
It's a good movie, Steven. It's a good movie. It's funny.
This is the last one you told. I remember you telling me, like, hey, this one's actually good.
No, the last one I said was good. I said on here was they cloned Tyrone.
Oh, yeah.
With Jamie Foxx and the dude from Star Wars.
Right.
Before we get out of here, I want to say this real quick. I don't usually like to get into politics, but this doesn't seem like a political thing to me. What's going on in Israel is terrible right now, and just terrible. And my thoughts are with all those people. Being a Jewish man myself is just really hard to see. So thoughts with the people in Israel. Terrible.
Yeah, it's super complicated. It's been a ongoing war for however long along the border there, along Israel, and then you have the Gaza Strip right there. It's just seeing those images, man. It's just, I don't know. You don't really. It's indescribable. It's really like watching something out of a movie. Just hearing that, this terrorist organization just basically stormed Israel and just started killing innocent people. It's just awful.
No, terrible. So thoughts with the people in Israel. Awful. We will be back on Saturday to talk about more just trivial things in our society, but makes people entertained. So we'll talk football. We'll do our Jackass of the Week, and we will do a little more pop culture catch up, and we'll pick the games for Sunday. But until then, Steve, say what you always say.
It is just our opinion. Man.